Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frank's Retirement Home. I am Freaky G. Joined here on the desk with me is Deacon, the cute little cow, and of course we have to give props to our guy here on the spectator, and that's Mr. Nacho. And we have a very important set here today, Deacon, because this set has determines the outcome of the true last place here in Frank's Retirement Home Canes division between the Killer Kappas and Gunshow Shoguns.
Yeah, and I mean, it's coming down to the end of the season. Seeding is so important going into the gauntlet run. You want to try to, if you can get out of it, get out of it. I don't think that's possible today for either of these teams, but you at least want to position yourself up higher, give yourself more advantage or, fewer games to have to worry about in the
Mhm.
dreaded but so exciting Gauntlet Sunday.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be one of the teams ending up there, and you definitely don't want to be the team that has to play that first game in the gauntlet. Going back to that gauntlet, by the way, it's I believe it's three teams total that's going to the gauntlet from Kane's division, and those teams will battle it out in order to decide who gets to go to the quarterfinals for season three of Frank's Retirement Home. And so it's just a very important game overall because the Killer Kappas get this. That means they move up to potentially 10th place. Gunshow Shoguns move back down to the dreaded 12th place, I believe. I don't remember how many teams there are exactly. I know in this
There's
division.
10 in Canes, so I,
Yeah,
th-
yeah,
I think I think they're competing for 9, 10 right now, but
yeah,
potentially next week one of them could slip up to 8 and get out of that first gauntlet game.
yeah. So basically, Killer Kappas have to win this, and they move up to the 10th or to the ninth place slot, and or eighth place slot, and then the Gunshow Shoguns are trying to maintain that same position, and then everything else in the bracket above them is just going to be so crazy. So many teams tied 4 and 3, but we've talked enough about the potential bracket and what we're going to see because we still got week 9 ahead of us. We're going to talk about the game right now and the bands. So far, Killer Kappa's taking away Athena, Soul, and Thor. Gunshow Shoguns taking away Hachiman, Kuzumbo, and Agni. Killer Kappa's going to start off their pick with the Kukulkan. Kind of interesting, in my opinion, considering he's seen a slight nerf and some changes. Then they go to the Gunshow Shoguns, and it's Cthulhu and Odin picked up here.
Yeah, so a lot's happened as these teams have just flown through the first ban phase and into this first round of picks here. Definitely interesting to not so much interesting to see Cuckoo be first picked. Yes, he took a little bit of a nerf, but he's still very strong. He's still pretty safe. He still does that late game team fight so well that teams play him for. Definitely not surprising to see him here. What is a little surprising is to see another mage take that top position away from him because this Agni is going to be everywhere over the next couple weeks. He got buffed, his items got buffed. Agni's going to be everywhere. Teams are going to be sick of him.
Yeah, I'm not even surprised to see him get banned away after all the itemization that was good for him got buffed, and then he also receives that quality of life change that gives him 50% movement speed when he's using his ultimate now. So just a massive change for him in general. But Gunshow Shoguns aren't looking at that because they go for this Marti Cross. And I'm gonna just go ahead and throw caution to the wind here and do the thing that casters aren't supposed to do. I'm already thinking this is a Marty mid. And the reason I think that is because of this double front line that Gunshow Shoguns have drafted. And I'm gonna go ahead and do another thing, play the devil's advocate here, and bet on this being an Odin support because of how good he's become with the changes to itemization, specifically in that Sphinx's bauble getting its buff.
Yeah, could definitely I would assume the Odin is going support out of the two tanks they currently have locked in, and we just kind of glanced over it, but Cthulhu a huge buff as well. Lots of buffs, big shakeups to the meta here with this last patch, right as the season here in Franks is winding down. So lots of fresh life, lots of changes, definitely room for excitement as we see so far bans and picks that I would never have expected, just a week ago. Cthulhu,
Yeah.
Marty? Charybdis? I mean,
Mhm. Massive meta shifts across the board, and all due to just mainly quality of life changes. And that ban right there, massive respect to any of the frontliners on Killer's Kappas by taking away that Jing Qian, another god that's just been steamrolling in the meta right now. It's a very exciting week because we get to see the first Kane's game of the season, or Kane's game here, and it's on this new patch. So we get to see what these higher level players are going to bring to the table and what they've noticed and realized in the new changes to this meta. Because usually when you get these big patches and they have these massive meta swings, it takes a little bit to get comfortable. But in this patch in particular, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like everybody here has a pretty good idea of what's going on. And if this Maui gets locked in, it's even more exciting because that means this is going to be an Odin jungle.
Almost time to
it
start
does
the
appear to
show.
be that way as we see the Maui get locked in. And yeah, it just very exciting with all the changes and everything because it gives the teams their own chances to take their view on what they think is going to be good and put their flavor, take their spin on it because there's so many different and new options. Lots of, obviously god items, gods items nerfed, buffed, numbers up, numbers down, yada yada yada. That's all, that happens every patch. But like you said, lots of quality of life things where it's not just that, oh, this ability hits harder. It's Cthulhu's 1 or 2 is like 75% faster. It doesn't have to channel. Agony doesn't self-root in his ult anymore. Like just lots of cool new changes like that allow these gods to be just played more efficiently and bring them into what was already a fairly open meta. Like, there was that clear top tier, but the second tier was large. There were lots of options, but now there's so many gods and things that can be chosen that, like, I'm just excited to see how each team views what's going to be happening.
Right, and that was one of the best parts about it is that the top tier god selection in the last split was not as diverse. Whereas in this current meta or in this current patch, the diversity at the top has grown. So it's really interesting actually.
Nike.
I don't think we've ever had such a top heavy meta in a long time where there were so many gods in the game that were just exponentially better than their counterparts. So many gods that were in the B tier have moved up to A plus. Gods that were in the S tier may have moved down a little bit because of some of those gods that moved up into the A and S tier. It's going to be very exciting, and I think this Kane's game, even if it is the bottom two teams in the bracket, is going to really show what's good and what's not in the meta. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Killer Kappas because they haven't changed anything in the slightest. Got that semi-global presence. Nike has just been a terror in the solo lane. Bacchus has become one of the best supports in the game just by his damage potential and setup alone. Killer Kappa's draft is a run it down, yet still very team fight centric draft.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, just the Gunshow Shoguns so far, as we're waiting on this last pick, you think the Kappas have a team fight presence. I think the Shoguns' team fight presence is monstrous right now. I mean, you got 3 beefy frontliners. I mean, yeah, Odin jungle, but, probably going to go bruiser build there. You got 3 beefy people that the Kappas are going to have to try to deal with going through. And then you have a Marty and an Ishtar just pumping out damage from safe range. Marty, even safer, goes up to the sky and is just like, haha, can't touch me now. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
Very interesting takes from both of these teams so far as we've seen, now the entire pick phase.
It's 2 very different styles as well, so we get to see as well which style is going to bring more to the table in this current patch. And I think double ADC is still very strong in its current stage. I don't think they did enough to the mages to make them better or worse than their ADC counterparts. But what I do think is that there's a lot more room to go back to that traditional team comp style of a mage carry, a mage, hunter, assassin, and the traditional style we all know and love here in Smite. But just the same, Odin got some really strong quality of life buffs as well. He got a little bit of a change to his 2. And I think that damage pattern may actually make his jungle clear a little bit better if he's not relying on his jump to do that jungle clear. We'll have to see. But I think what's really going to happen here is Gunshow with this triple front line. We're going to see a lot of what is the item? The Sphinx's baubles over here on Gunshow Shoguns. I at least expect to see 2, maybe 3, and that cooldown difference may end up being the biggest factor in how this Gunshow's front line is going to change the game for Killer Kappas.
Absolutely. When you have a lot of team fight ultimates like, Cthulhu, Descent into Madness, the Maui Island, the Odin Cage, like you want those up as often as possible so that you can, do your team fight things. You can W key at them or keep them locked in and do the damage and all of these things that the Gunshow Shoguns clearly want to do. So I would not be surprised at all to see the newly buffed Sphinx's bauble pretty often in here. Unfortunately, we will have to wait a little bit to see what Gunshow Shoguns, how many baubles they want to go, have a bit of a lobby issue. So we will be back shortly,
Oh. Are we still on? Oh. Never mind, it looks like we won't need to take a break.
Okay, yeah. Apparently not. Nacho's so good at fixing technical issues. He sent me a message saying go to break and then fixed it while I was still talking. So
Go to break? Never mind. I'm just better, said Nacho.
Yep.
We love this guy around here. He does such a great job on the spectator side of things. And back to game though. And one thing I'm seeing here is Killer Kappas are subbing in for their jungle today. They have PV piloting that Ratatasker today for them. So not their typical jungle. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head who the jungle is. And that's always a good question to ask, I think. And I get a different answer and a different opinion from everyone. Does having to sub in like this, not just because of who you're subbing in, because that doesn't seem to matter to me, but it's more about does having to sub in at all like this make a big change for you?
It's just that answer varies so much team to team. Some teams are so tight knit as 5 that even if one of those 5 gets swapped out for another piece, the other 4 are so strong and know what they're doing that 5th is able to just kind of step right into the shoes and not really have to worry about fitting in because the rest of the team does it. Whereas other teams are not that anyone is any better or worse, or I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but some teams are a little more strict and rigid in how they approach the game, and therefore if someone does step in for them, that person might have to adapt their playstyle to fit what the team is expecting of, in this case, a jungler.
It looks like as we watch the start of this game, it is a Odin jungle. Not a surprise, I don't think. I think that was probably the best option in their composition. And he's not going Boombas. He's going to be definitely going at Bruiser build because he has that Eye of the Jungle starter in his pocket already. What do you think about this Eye of the Jungle here?
Not too surprised to see that. If you're going Bruiser, Protector of the Jungle is just, one of the best items in the game. You can do that. You get power and prots, percentage power and prots when you're in the jungle, which... if you want power and prots, why not increase them by a lot? A lot of skirmishing here early in the duo lane so far.
Yeah, they were whooping on each other there. Pretty exciting start, and now the Odin has shown up.
Hot dog.
Not a lot of lockdown for this god. Not even going to be able to connect that ability there, so not much for him to do except just watch them walk back to their tower. But these early starts over in the solo lane. You got Warrior Zax versus Conduit Gym. Warrior Zax, not in this patch, but the patch before, also receiving a nerf to its power on that item, means that this is a bit more of a complexity in that solo lane because you're relying on that passive proc to do that damage over there. We're relying on that passive proc to do that damage over there. Meanwhile, Conduit Gym received a very nice buff. More consistency on that passive being up means that more damage can be pumped out. It makes those Guardians so much stronger in that lane. Is there any solo laner that you're kind of thinking has an upper hand here?
I think Cthulhu's going to have the advantage, the upper hand early on with, his abilities hit pretty hard. He got the nice quality of life change. Conduit Gem is going to allow him to clear. However, Conduit Gem does fall off pretty heavily from levels like 5 to 19, pretty much until you can actually upgrade it to that Gem of Focus. Whereas the Warrior's Axe, if Pokemon on this Nike is able to, withstand that first barrage, I think the advantage then does shift into his favor. Uh-oh, Bacchus in trouble here.
He is in trouble. Able to get a little bit of distance, but he gets caught up on a little bit more CC. But will survive this encounter. And that's what we're going to see a lot of, I think, as these teams kind of feel each other out. They're not necessarily just feeling each other out. They've played each other before. They're also feeling out the meta here in this new game. And now Nike's the one that gets to feel out how much damage this Cthulhu's able to do alongside an Odin. Good blink in for the body blocks, trying to get that jump over the wall. Will finally get it and makes his way out. That's 2 TKOs now onto the killer Kappas. Maybe not. Bacchus actually never left. But that TKO in solo lane is definitely going to help out. Maybe even this blue invade, actually. Looks like an attempt and a dash from Ratatoskr will get the confirm. And that's going to pretty much just shut out any aggression over here in this solo lane.
Yeah, risky thin margins there by the killer Kappas, but they are able to get everybody out safe. They are able to secure their blue buff. Little early pressure from Shoguns. Unfortunate. Oh, wow.
Wow, indeed. Cuckoo just slap him. That Odin right there with damage.
Mm-hmm. I have to assume he out-confirmed the Odin for the mid-Harpies there. If you want to ult for him that bad, I sure hope you get him.
I'm a little disappointed. I feel like Ben Dizzle probably could have dove that tower and ulted for a kill there. But choosing to play it safe, taking that TKO like we were talking about, it's going to help him out in the long run, push that wave under tower. And as we continue throughout this game, Ratatoskr going up into the left lane. Landing down, going to get a good double knock-up, and Queen Perfuma will get first blood as they wait for the Maui to land in that tower. Diving in is PV. He's going to be taking so much damage, but he finds the kill onto Gymkhana before it's all said and done. 2-1 at the 4-minute mark. And that was a great start to some aggression from the Gunshow or from the Killer Kappa's jungle.
Yeah, and I'm not at all surprised to see PV get active as soon as he hits level 5 there. He hits level 5 on that blue buff, backs, immediately goes and ganks duo lane, which is just what you want to do as a Ratatoskr, especially when you have an Odin as your jungle opponent. Rat wants to get active earlier than the Odin does. Really take advantage of the fact that you have that semi-global ult to do that, as we see both ults exchanged in solo lane, and now some trouble for Cthulhu.
Oh, misses the ult there. Filthy Scylla gonna have to make her way out, but not until he loses his own solo laner beforehand. Now they're gonna turn their attention to the Odin. Did get some of that whirlwind damage. Misses the one again though. PV just barely able to get him low, but unfortunately does not have the damage to confirm. And he'll make his way over to the jungle. Take away a small, but that's all he'll be able to find after that gank.
Yeah, very early rotation there out of Filthy Scylla, just coming over to the solo lane and almost got the kill. Unfortunately, almost is not quite enough. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, as they say.
Pretty good analogy. I don't know. Never mind. I don't want to make that joke. I feel like that'd be very insensitive. I'm not going to touch that anymore. But now we're 2-2. Finally got another kill over onto the solo lane. Pokemon going down for the first time in his game. And I think one thing that's for sure is that the pacing of this game is going to be overwhelmingly determined by the jungles in this one, which is not abnormal. It's what we usually see. But what is abnormal is that whenever they 100% control it, I think.
Yeah, jungle just by role has a lot of influence over the pace of the game, but you're right. Normally not 100% control, as it's maybe not quite that much, but it's darn close here in this game with a Rat and an Odin coming through into lanes. Oh, Marty just able to avoid the Spirit of the Nine Winds with his own ult.
Now they're going to see a gank over here onto the Charybdis, uses the ultimate, but it doesn't matter because we have another ult getting landed right on top of him. PV using the beads to avoid the root there after he lands onto the Ishtar, but will not be able to find a return kill for his carry. So it's going to be them both walking back to that tier 1 tower, though. Bacchus is waiting in the wings, maybe trying to see if he can find somebody a little bit alone here. Maybe even try to steal that purple away, but looks like wholly unsuccessful. Does get Maui ulted, but his 2 is knock-up immune, so he survives that one.
He's a big tanky boy.
Big tanky boy. Very hard to put down. A little bit of aggression onto the Ishtar over here and left. May actually find a kill if he's not careful. Blocks the dash!
Oh.
What a great play from Queen Perfuma. Do it myself, she said.
Yeah, like you said, just fantastic play there. Just, uses Bacchus's kit very well. So, who cares if it's a simple combo that people know what's going to happen as long as you, perform it well. Flop in, burp on them, they're healing less, they're stunned, they're knocked up, I'm ulting you. Now you're all drunk and intoxicated as we see Nike jump out. Thought the ult was going to get forced out there, but able to save his life and hold on to that important cooldown.
This is such a scrappy game. Since the 5-minute point, it's been nothing but these two teams swinging at each other, trying to find the haymaker, rather than getting a little bit of those jabs put in. Fighting reference there. Speaking of jabs, Bacchus going to catch a jab, but we'll be able to walk away, no problem. Not enough damage from the Marty. PV going to find a stun here, though. Bacchus still hanging around at this low health. It's kind of scary. We'll be able to find that whirlwind onto the Maui, but not the guy you were looking for, so no damage traded anymore after the fact. But this is just what I mean. It's they're not farming anymore so much, trying to just kill each other.
Yeah, we do see the Ishtar ult there, just to clear wave, get some poke out, and really try to press some advantage there in the duo lane.
And a good advantage it will be. Solo lane being looked at once again. Nike does have ultimate here. We'll use it inside the Odin cage while Cthulhu rains hell down upon her. Yep. But not enough hell to take her life. So 2 ults in trade for Nike. Might be able to turn it around here. Doesn't have the health bar to go at it like that, though. Needed to wait on PV to start something. And will fall. Spirit of the Nine Winds does connect. Walks back into it. And Filthy Scylla picks up a double kill after the unfortunate loss of their solo laner.
Yeah, again, just great rotations there out of Filthy Scylla to just come over and just nail both of them with Spirit of the Nine Winds. Yeah, Cuckoo got a nerf. Spirit of the Nine Winds did not. It still donks health bars.
I'm not gonna be. I won't be surprised if we see this continue for the killer Kappas here. Filthy Scylla has actually been playing exceptionally well in these first 10 minutes and got the build online. He's almost fully stacked on Book of Thoth at 77 stacks. I imagine it'll only take him about 3 more waves, maybe another team fight to finish stacking that item.
Yeah. He heard all of our talk about the new wave and the new meta, and he said, nah, I kind of like the old patch better. Cuckoo, Kathoth, Sands of Time into Spirit Deso. And I mean, it's still effective. He's putting up numbers. I can't blame him for liking it if it still works.
Absolutely not. And I think the Spirit Deso pickup is just going to be even better. Going to increase that CDR. And that cooldown resets on kills. Well, it's a Cuckoo Khan. That guy's going to be killing a lot of people, or at least getting an assist for it. As we see a grouping from the killer Kappas here on this Gold Fury. An attempted steal, but it will be the Kappas confirming those oracles. Odin being looked at. Stun from Maui means that kit's going to be down for a little while. Now they're looking at Odin here. Doesn't connect with the ultimate from... Oh, what a island toss out there to pull in 3 members. Cuckoo falling very low, has to use the Aegis. Maui running him down, and finally Krogerman will pick that kill up for his team. Gunshow Shogun's looking very strong in this engagement. PB going up into the air to see if he can maybe turn this one around. Looking for somebody to land on. Maybe the Ishtar going to land on both Ishtar and Maui and find very good CC, but not enough damage off that. Odin going to turn his attention over to the ADC of Killer Kappas, but going underground means they'll take their chances with the support instead. Queen Perfuma dead for 20 seconds as they go over to the Gold Fury.
Yeah, and I think, early scrapping, as soon as it was initially for beacon positioning, but the fight went well enough for Shoguns that they were able to just transition it over to Gold Fury. But it just a little bit on a better communication on the same page by Shoguns. The target selection and priority there was they attacked the low health bars and got kills as opposed to doing damage to everyone, and then they were able to really swing the fight in their favor. Get one objective, now circle back to that beacon, get a second one, and press this gold lead up to 3k, somewhere around that mark. Almost taking out the mid Phoenix there with the beacon damage too.
Mid Phoenix, wow, we're really late into the game.
Yeah,
all
the same.
I poke fun at. I'm just poking fun at you. I'm not trying to. I'm not doing anything here. As Martikros is getting poked, but not for fun. Filthy Solo will find his third kill. Somebody please tell me what I'm supposed to refer to them as. Odin will be jumped on as well. May go down, and PB is going to pick that one up. A fantastic play from the jungle once again inside the battlegrounds that was created by Fatty Bacon. But still, it's such a close game. Not really a lot of leads. Mid's even. Jungle has a 2-level difference. Look at this. The gold difference is massive. XP? No. We are very close on those charts. And as much as everybody likes to talk about gold leads, 2,500 gold is not enough of a lead for your team to just suddenly start doing things in the game. You're going to have to still play these out.
Yeah, exactly. Like 2,500 gold, it's definitely nice. You always want to be ahead in gold, but that's, a couple of your players have a finished item, whereas other, their counterparts are sitting on a T2. Like the power spikes and advantages aren't that massive. Cuckoo gets pulled in by a massive island in mid lane, though.
Yep, Ben Dizzle finally picking up his first kill in this game. Happy about that one. And that's somebody I've really overlooked in this set, by the way. We've watched this guy on screen 3 or 4 times now absolutely put the hammer down onto Pokemon the entirety of this game. And it's just made Nike suffer. And that, I think it's mainly just due to the fact that Cthulhu feels really good right now. You're having to take a new approach to fighting against this character because you can't cancel the 2 anymore. Mm-hmm. And that might make a difference here as they notice the Pyromancer being pulled, but will not try and steal it away because they drop the objective. Nike has to jump over the wall. Odin is giving chase, though, and Fatty Bacon will find that kill, turning around now to the Ratatasker. Bacchus also caught between 3, now 4 members as Ratatasker decides that this is not the fight he has chosen for himself today. Bacchus over the wall means that there will be more members surviving. Cuckoo showed back up in mid lane, though, so this Pyromancer is not going to be as simple as you want it to be still.
Yeah, and I mean, good positioning there by Shoguns. They start pulling the Pyromancer to bring some people up, but then once the Rat ult's down and people are a little spread out, they just say, screw the objective, let's just take the fight. Spirit of the Nine Winds just off the mark.
And now Bacchus has actually disrupted the Pyromancer pull. Queen Perfuma likely will not survive this. Maybe she will, as she jumps out immediately after the 2 gets cast from the Cthulhu. And finally, Pokemon finds himself a kill in this game. Took him all of 15 minutes, but he's happy to have it. And it's onto the Odin, Fatty Bacon, falling for the 3rd time in this game. And we're starting to see the weakness there. That is one of the biggest problems with Odin Jungle. He is not the tankiest character in solo lane, let alone in the game. As Nike gets pulled into that T1, we'll be able to jump away after using the ultimate. But not the tankiest character even in the game. It's kind of struggling here, but we'll come back to that in a moment as Kukulkan being ran down by Ben Dizzle once again. Likely won't survive if he's able to connect any more of these abilities. Here comes the 3, and Ben Dizzle will get that kill onto the mid laner, now turning his attention to the Ratatasker. Acorn Blast did not connect. Now has 3 members surrounding him. Bacchus chasing down, gets 2 onto the knockup as Ratatasker also trying to find his own part of this engage, but goes towards the Martikaros and will not be able to get that kill, instead trading his own life. Now Cthulhu looking to find another one onto the Nike, and he'll find it very quickly. Queen Perfuma, not much left in the tank here. Gonna bounce over the wall, but no one has a jump to chase her down, so she will live once more. What a great game from Gunshow Shoguns there. Ben Dizzle finally starts rotating, gets into the team. I say finally as if it took him forever to do so, but once he starts showing up, there has not been a team fight that has not gone Gunshow's way.
Yeah, Ben's a great player, and this Cthulhu pick is just running the map right now. And I think it's one of those factors that, yes, he got buffed, like you said, you can't just cancel out his 2 anymore. You now have to worry about that. But I think he's also benefiting from, it's been a long time since Cthulhu's been relevant. I think people are forgetting what you have to do to deal with him. And the answer to that, by the way, people, is Kin's size. At least 1, preferably 2.
Heartseeker's nice too.
Yes, anything that will just do lots of damage to him, that you just can deal, lots of health-based damage to him, because he gets so much of it when he's in his ult.
Filthy Scylla has not been able to get anything done in this game since the early portions of it. Just keeps getting ran down by the front line of the Gunshow Shoguns, trying to find some more damage. Maui's going to pull the Bacchus back in. A little bit of lockdown, but not enough damage. Odin jumps over the wall in chase of the Bacchus, who actually hasn't jumped yet. Now waiting in the wings for the Bacchus here, and will finally pick him up. Fatty Bacon picking up another kill for his team, getting that Transcendent stacked in the process. Nike has shown up, turning her attention over to the Maui now. Might be able to find this kill if she can just get the jump, but great job to making this fight last a little bit longer. PV finally picking that one up. That was what I thought it was, but it doesn't matter because Cuckoo goes down very quickly as the ADC for Gunshow Shogun shows up behind the entirety of the enemy team. PV up into the air as Cthulhu running the Nike down. Shell gets popped on Nike. PV finds a kill onto Fatty Bacon. Ratatasker falling very low as Ishtar looking for a little bit more damage. Charybdis will go down to Krogerman, and there's still 1 left, and a simple auto attack from Dr. Shrew will pick up the jungle of the Killer Kappas.
Yeah, and like we said in the draft phase, and like you said, as that fight started breaking out, this Gunshow Shogun's front line with, these 2 beefy Guardians and an Odin who maybe not the tankiest, but still, tankier than your average jungle. And, you have to deal with his shield. Yeah, he wants to bird bomb, even more so now after that change, but that shield still provides a lot of survivability and effective HP that you have to deal with in these team fights. And Gunshow Shoguns are just able to group up and just start walking at Killer Kappas. And Kappas have done a very good job of, not getting stomped, not outright losing a fight. Maybe it's a 2-for-1, or, a 2-for-2 even, or at least able to get an answer, something back after the fight or towards the tail end of it. But gonna need to group up a little bit and really figure out a way to deal with this front line from Gunshow Shoguns.
What's really interesting to me, honestly, is the Killer Kappas have a very good composition for diving the backline. And they haven't been able to do it just simply because the backline dive has been way stronger from the Gunshow Shoguns. So much unstoppability. I think that's one of the things in this Gunshow Shoguns draft that's made it so prevalent in this game, is that what do you do to stop these characters? Odin, you try to CC him, he's just going to jump out of it, maybe pop a shield if you do get that CC. Maui, he's got an island that gives him the island pool that gives him CC immunity, another ability that just makes it difficult. And I mean, you dive either of these backliners. Krogerman's going to dash at you and flip away. Dr. Shrew's going to go up into the air for a solid 5 seconds while he's doing damage to you. This backline dive for the Killer Kappas is very difficult, and trying to keep your own backline alive with what's diving at you, it makes things so complicated. It only makes sense that Gunshow Shoguns are dominating in this game at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, Gymkhana is playing this Maui, fantastically. He's initiating and getting good pulls with the ult, but he's just always there to help peel for his team, as Ben Dizzle might have stepped up forward a little too far here.
But he's playing distraction the whole time. Pyromancer got pulled and was taken away by the Gunshow Shoguns here. He will fall finally for the second time in this game. PV picking up that one, and this is an opportunity for the Killer Kappas. If they want to find a fight, this would be the best time to do so. Ratatasker going to throw a little bit of damage onto the Ishtar. Queen Perfuma taking some poke as she steps up in front of the entirety. Two-man stun. Odin standing behind. Killer Kappas will not have an ADC for this one, as Odin finally getting the jump out. Maui pulling in two more. Marty up into the air, looking at the Ratatasker. Dr. Shrew finds that one. A good tornado is going to put some damage onto the back line, but it's not going to be enough when they're so healthy already. Ishtar dodging the Nike leap there means she gets to stay in this fight just a little bit longer. Shell wearing off, Pokemon taking a fall, and it's only 4 members of the Gunshow Shoguns, but so much damage. Odin blinking in here, getting the stun, landing on a bird bomb with massive damage. Cuckoo beats Aegis. Maui not going to be able to get the pull onto him, though. Cuckoo using the Spirit of the Nine Winds as she watches his support fall very soon after, and it's a deicide for the Gunshow Shoguns.
Yeah, and I mean, just great team play there. Yes, Ben Dizzle stepped forward a little too far, played the of bait a little too well, and lost his life there. But, Gunshow Shoguns then just rotate over, take advantage of some medium to low health bars that Ben did, and pumped out a bunch of damage on as he sits at top of the player damage chart, as we see. And then they just, yes, it's a long, extended, scrappy fight, which is exactly what Gunshow Shoguns want. They're beefy, their backline has self-peel and self-survivability through their ults and CC immunity and Marty going up and all the things we've talked about so far so many times throughout this game.
Yeah.
That, they were just able to outlast the Killer Kappas there in that team fight and just get a dominant win and balloon this gold lead up over 10,000, over 11,000 now.
Yeah, it's a massive difference here. Fire Giant didn't even get pulled there. Too many low health bars on the Gunshow Shoguns for that to be a possibility. But either way, looking pretty strong. And I got to point this out here. Cthulhu, Ben Dizzle, he's not going full defense either. Cuckoo getting locked in a cage means that Fatty Bacon gets another stack on that ultimate. 9-4 is the score line of the Gunshow Shoguns jungle. Fatty Bacon had me a little bit worried there in the mid game, getting blasted every time he went in, but late game he's kind of showed back up and been a big deal. Ben Dizzle going to play distraction once again. Queen Perfuma is aware of the Fire Giant that's being pulled right now, down to 75% health, as a Sunder comes out from the Cthulhu. Still shocked to see that relic in play right now, 25% here. Ratatasker waiting in the wings. Queen Perfuma going in. Ratatasker blinks in, and Gunshow Shoguns are able to confirm that one, and only 3 members of the Killer Kappas alive. To try and walk out of this one is going to be a chore, as Queen Perfuma takes the dive for her team. But hasn't actually got any of them out yet. Ratatasker uses the dash and will have enough distance between himself and Odin to not get stunned. But either way, 24 minutes in, the first Fire Giant has been dropped, and it's on the Gunshow Shoguns.
Yeah, and again, just great play there, and they're able to do this. Odin walked forward, caged someone, they got a kill, then they were able to just pull fire, and they just lather, rinse, repeat the same plan. Odin goes forward, cages someone, they get a kill, now they get Phoenix.
I don't think there's anything you can do about that combo anymore. Kukulkan not paying off for the Killer Kappas anymore, just hasn't been able to find himself here in this game. And it's kind of tough. Every time the team fight starts, the first thing you see is Fatty Bacon just flying in onto the mid laner of the Killer Kappas.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, Filthy Scylla was playing really well early and was able to get these nice rotations over to solo lane and get these kills, and Fatty Bacon struggled a little bit, needed to get some items online through the early mid game, but now he's got those items online. His Transcendence is fully stacked. He's got the breastplate of vigilance and everything. Now he can walk at this Kukulkan with no fear, and that is the last thing you want when you're an immobile backliner, is an Odin walking at you with no fear.
Gotta point it out again, just because we didn't get to talk about it. Look at this build from Ben Dizzle, by the way. He has 3 defense items total. Otherwise, he is a mage. None of the tanks on this team are full tanks. Maui even getting that Sphinx's Bobble, getting that 50% CDR. Ben Dizzle getting 3 whole damage items in his build. I wonder if he may sell that off at the end of this. Blink in from Odin after a successful blue invade. Will not be able to connect the rest of that damage. Marty tries to find his own as well, but just can't connect it. Cuckoo will be able to walk a little bit away from this one, trying to get into that lane away from the danger. Bacchus shows up.
Kappa's really spread out right now. I really just want to see them group up. Like, you know, obviously nobody wants to be on the siege defense and dealing with that, but they have a fantastic team for that. So don't make Gunshow Shogun's job any easier by potentially getting picked out or, you know, letting them get an easy pick and then giving them the numbers advantage. Just, yeah, lots of
diving over to the jungle wall there, trying to get a cage maybe, but everyone seems to get out of the way before they actually take any damage. So no ultimate there from Fatty Bacon. Hasn't yet finished that last item, which I can only imagine is going to be a Sphinx's Bobble as Beads gets burned onto the Charybdis, but the jump in from the Nike or from the Bacchus may end up spelling his own disaster. Good damage onto the Ishtar, but only knocks him down to about 50%. Gratitas are going to come in and try to find the cleanup as Charybdis gets locked inside a cage with the biggest and baddest of them all, Cthulhu, running them down inside their own throne room. No backline to speak of for Killer Kappas to help with the damage. Ratatasker gets absolutely blasted by Fatty Bacon with a fantastic bird bomb in the mid lane. And now all 5 members of Killer Kappas walking forward, only the backline alive. Odin very low, and Filthy Scylla will be able to get the kill and the shutdown, but it's just too little too late. Ishtar falling low, Marty falling pretty low as well, is able to avoid the ultimate from the ADC, so will survive. No end game just yet, but maybe it's actually still happening. Cthulhu's still here. Nope. Not happening. I was ready. I was very ready for that. Deegan?
I accidentally muted my mic. I apologize for that.
Fantastic. Let's go, Deacon. We're professionals here.
Oh, absolutely. You're a professional. I'm a troll.
Oh, you're so kind. I could never. I just can't take a compliment. I'm sorry.
It happens. It's a really tough job for these Killer Kappas backliners right now. Filthy Scylla just has to pump out as much damage as he possibly can, and preferably hit a backliner with the Spirit of the Nine Winds. We did see it there on that left Phoenix. Unfortunately, not able to totally one-shot, and then PV overextends himself trying to get in there after that damage. But Cuckoo, Filthy Scylla on this Charybdis. I don't envy this task at all.
No.
He is the one responsible for dealing with this Cthulhu. You have Prot Shred in your kit. You have Kin Size. You're the one who gets tasked with dealing with the 800-foot tentacle monster who's walking at everybody on your team, causing chaos every fight.
Oh,
Not an easy job at all, but it's his job right now.
Kins is a nice item, don't get me wrong, but 6,000 health is not an easy task to deal with. Especially whenever you're talking about 6,000 health and you're the only attack speed character on the team. If it was a double ADC or maybe an attack speed jungle somewhere in here, it would be so much easier. But it's just such a tall order. Oh my goodness, excuse me. It's just such a tall order for the ADC here on this Cthulhu, who just looks so good. And it's Ben Dizzle just piloting it well as well, not making it easy for anybody on top of just the character being good.
Yeah, and just like you said, not a easy job for him at all. And Fatty Bacon pushed up that mid lane, causing some distractions. But now they're back on this fire giant, and Ben Dizzle and Fatty Bacon and everyone, they're not letting them get anywhere close. They can't even see a health bar, let alone try and make a steal at this.
Yeah, Bacchus is going to try and make something happen here, jumping onto the Odin. Raven Ward does go out to see the health bars, but it's just too late. Gunshow Shoguns burn it down right as Queen Perfuma walks up, meaning it's a sacrifice for the victory. And Jim Kana will find that kill, finally getting his third kill. I didn't realize he had any kills. That's why I said it like that. And all of the Gunshow Shoguns are going to start walking down to this throne room here. Nike going to try and slow down the waves, but it's not going to matter because this is EFG we're seeing here. Charybdis going to try and put some damage out, but ends up getting himself killed in the process of trying to save the game. Ratatasker being chased down, blinks past the Odin, and will make it back to the fountain, but it doesn't matter because the Titan is gone, folks. That was a little off. But it's gone, and it's Gunshow Shoguns proving why they're not already in last place in Game 1.
Yeah, and just Kappa's in a rough situation there. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they don't step up and try to contest that Fire Giant, Gunshow Shoguns gets EFG around 5 members, and it's game over. If they do step up to try to defend that Fire Giant, Gunshow Shoguns gets some picks, gets EFG on 5, and it's game over.
So I'm going to... Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to put it out there like this because I'm now 32 minutes and 16 seconds wiser than I once was, and I'm realizing something here. It was a major draft diff, honestly. Somebody read the patch notes and somebody didn't. And I'm going to let the viewership decide which team that was, and maybe they'll go do some looking up on those patch notes after this short break before Game 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again. It is Killer Kappas and Gunshow Shoguns. The battle for the bottom continues here in this best of 3 set in Kane's division. I'm still Freaky G, it's still Deacon, and we're still just flabbergasted, I suppose. Maybe not. I guess it depends on which one of us you're talking about, at how crazy that game went, though.
Yeah, I mean, Gunshow Shoguns just appeared to have the better read on how the meta is broken out after the patch and everything. They were just, I'm not exactly surprised to see that they were able to execute their comp so well. I thought, the plan was simple and they executed it. What I was surprised to see was just once they grouped, like it was just that first 10, maybe 12 minutes was like fairly back and forth. And then after that, Gunshow Shoguns grabbed the game by the neck, put the pedal to the metal, and never stopped until that Titan was down.
Yeah, it was just a very. It started out as a bit of a jog, a light jog for them, and then out of nowhere, it was that sprint to the finish in the last quarter mile. Figuratively speaking, so to say, as the bands are coming out, and one of these bands I'm not so sure about. I don't think it performed, and I think you know exactly which band I'm talking about. And I don't think it performed well enough for it to even be a ban in this situation.
Yeah, and like we said in the first game's pick and ban phase, Cuckoo is still strong. I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, he's bad now, dead god. No, definitely not. He's still strong and does the things he does very well. But I think he's slipped from that must ban, must first pick spot down into, if you feel there's a good matchup for him and he's still available, absolutely pick him, slam him, do big numbers in team fights. But especially considering what I think the issue was in game 1, the fact that Cthulhu hasn't been banned yet is criminal by the Killer Kappas.
It very much is, and I would imagine Gunshow Shoguns are likely going to pick him back up in this first pick slot that the Killer Kappas have opted to give them. But that means if he does get picked up early, Killer Kappas have a chance to respond, and it will be the response at the end there, finally getting that criminal charge off their record with this ban on the Cthulhu last overall. And that means Gunshow Shoguns will have to find a new Guardian or Warrior to take that spot in the solo lane. And, I mean, there's a lot of options. Kuzumbo wasn't my first thought, and I'm not even sure it's going to solo, because who knows with these drafts anymore, with how much changes there are to the meta. This could be a Kuzumbo jungle. Maybe there's something spicy cooking that Fatty Bacon knows that I don't.
Well, after game 1, I trust Fatty with whatever he wants to do in jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's a fair point.
Yeah, a little surprising to see the Kuzumbo first picked. I know he was banned away last game, so like if he's a strong pick right now, he's a strong pick right now. Me personally, I don't think he's first overall pick worthy, but he's definitely strong right now.
Well, what this does do though is it's a layer of strategy in the Gunshow's draft that I think really helps them with what they want to do. It's a flex potential, and they can do whatever they want with this pick, depending on the matchup, depending on what gets locked in, And depending on how they want to answer to the Killer Kappas, you can put this Kuzenbo in support. He'll perform just fine. He's not the most ideal support, but he does what he's supposed to do. Same goes for him in solo. Not the most ideal, but you can put him there and he'll do what he's supposed to do, albeit maybe falling behind because Guardians don't have the best laning phase when they're set in a lane by themselves, even with that conduit gem change. So we'll see what the Gunshow Shoguns do as they finally get an idea of what the first two gods for Killer Kappas are going to be. PV going to be going back to that Ratatasker. Not a surprise. Don't think he did poorly at all. I think he actually played a very good game. Just circumstances did not allow him to have the best game possible on this Ratatasker selection. Meanwhile, Jing Qian getting picked up for the Killer Kappas, a god that got banned away in the final phase of the ban phase.
Yeah, and we've now seen two gods, the Jingchen for Kappas and the Vulcan for Shoguns, that were banned away in the second phase, that these teams say, no. I want them, and I want them now.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I mean, amazingly so. And the Jingqian in response to the Kuzenbo, I think is fantastic. This god got a massive quality of life buff. He now gets health every time he levels up, increasing his maximum health pool. Has 0 cap. And what that means, folks, the normal HP 5 cap is 100 HP 5. Jingqian can now overcap naturally. He has the ability to just not care about what the game's rules are because he's exceptional to them. And that's not the greatest stat in the world. Let's be clear. HP 5 isn't going to break your game anytime soon. But when you're able to, I don't know, 190 HP 5 when your passive stacked, makes you a little bit hard to put down.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Jing Chen is very annoying when he's played well. You know, he decreases your auto attack damage, the washing machine of an ult that everybody knows and is familiar with that is just so effective, but it's annoying to deal with. He knocks you up, he slams you down. He's annoying. And giving his passive that uncapped HP 5 that allows him to just jump in, poke, jump out, you know, and sustain any damage that he got in that fight, because I've seen some pictures and some builds, and I'm sure everyone else has it, you know, some people are up there at crazy, like 245 HP 5. That's like 50 HP every second. Any poke you do to him does not exist anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how high that can get. And it looks like the Killer Kappas maybe did learn something from that first game, maybe have a better handle on the meta, as they're the ones that go for this double Guardian play style, and a very interesting one at that. I'm loving what I'm seeing here in their third pick slot, by the way. Artio getting locked in for the Killer Kappas. And that's not going to hurt the Vulcan nearly as much, but what it will do is keep X-Ball from dashing, keep Kuzenbo from dashing, makes that dive so much more difficult, which makes me think this is a Jingqian support. And that's not something we've seen in a long time. Jingqian has primarily been a solo lane god. He doesn't perform the best in support. He's just more of an aggressive style, thrives in that solo lane style of play. But if you grab an Artio, might mean we might see a full dive double Guardian comp from the Kappas. This Merlin pick is going to really facilitate that going forward.
Absolutely. But you're missing one thing. It's clearly Jing Chen jungle, because this set just has picks all over the map. So that's my bet for right now. But yes, you know, just I everything I said about Jing Chen goes double for Artio. She is so annoying. She just comes in, she dashes in bear form, does damage, turns into a druid. I can't run away. I can't out damage her. I can't out sustain her. You're like, she has so many more buttons than the backliners do. How are you supposed to deal with it, freaky?
Very carefully. That's the words that I would put together there in a string of sentence to answer that question. And I mean, realistically, there are plenty of ways to deal with her. She's not got an ultimate, no CC immunity. You can realistically lock this god down long enough to possibly kill her or poke her out to the point that she can't stay in presence anymore and has to back and reset. And I mean, they have the answers for it as well. Vulcan's very poke heavy, really a god that's kind of swung his way up to the top pick selection as far as mages go, just by itemization getting buffed. He really likes that Spear of Deso, that flat pin style, likes that the soul gem procs, once that 40%, albeit 50% if possible CDR, which I don't doubt we're going to see from this Vulcan. He does need a power bank though. And that's going to be one of the issues in this new build, is that the build itself doesn't have the highest power bank in the world. But when you have 50% CDR, really worried about that power bank.
Yeah, that's the trade-off of the build. You get so much cooldown, you know, the limit's supposed to be 40, and for a reason, they don't want people just spamming all their abilities unless you get this one item that says, I want to spam my abilities. And like you said, the trade-off for that is you don't get as much power behind them, so you're hitting them more often, but they don't do as much. But, you know, some things, like a Vulcan ult, that's always gonna hurt. Maybe you don't need to have, like, all the power behind it for that to do a lot of damage in a late game team fight. It's gonna hurt plenty.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think Vulcan ult has 130% scaling on it, so 500 power. Multiply that by 1.3, and you're sitting in the ballpark of about 100 and or 780, almost 800 additional power on top of your base numbers. Like, it's a ridiculous numbers, guys.
Yep.
So not having a high power bank doesn't always mean it's the worst case scenario. But the rest of the team has picked their gods. It's Kamazats and Erlong in the final two selection for the Gunshow Shoguns. It's Merlin and Kernabog for Killer Kappas. That's the back line there locked in for the Killer Kappas. And the double Guardian front line for the Killer Kappas is pretty strong. I mean, Xingqian and Artio are two very strong Guardians in the current meta. But what I'm very shocked to see is that the Gunshow Shoguns don't go for a double Guardian here. That's an Erlong Shin solo pick, in my opinion. I am pretty sure that's what we're going to see it be played in.
Yeah, that would be my assumption too, that it's over there, and does appear to be Ben Dizzle playing the Erlong Shen as we get a little behind the curtain there. And
yeah,
one thing
we're privy to that.
One thing I do want to mention about this Killer Kappas draft is they have a lot of tools in the tool belt. I'm interested to see how they want to use them, though, and I mean that in the sense of there's kind of like two separate ideas here at their core. We have a double Guardian frontline, team fight press, you know, with the Xingqian, the Merlin, the Artio, but they also have a lot of semi-global or flat-out global presence that could really stretch the map if they want to do that with a Ratatoskr and a Chernobog. And I'm just interested when they shift those gears and how they want to do that, because they can either group up as 5 and just say, we're stronger than you, odds are, or they could really spread this map out and force Gunshow Shoguns to make decisions that they don't want to make.
Yeah, make them answer the question, how do you want to approach this? And I think that's a very good analysis on your part, Deacon, to recognize that the double global presence here is very strong, if anything, for the Gunshow Shoguns draft. And I think you can play off of that. Do you want to take the 3v5 while we're splitting your lanes, or do you want to try and stop one of these lane splits for us to just find other lanes to push anyways? And with that being said, and that knowledge behind us, which one of these teams are you looking at to take a victory here? Are we going to game 3, or is this over after this one?
It is tough to go against Gunshow Shoguns after that game 1 performance, but ow, whack my hand off my desk. Based on this draft and how things could play out, I am going to do that. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Kappas. Bit of a weighted coin toss in their favor. Call it 53-47.
Sure. I think that's a very fair assessment. Gunshow Shoguns have just played game 1 so well, and I think taking that into consideration is very smart, because they could just go into game 2 with so much momentum off of game 1 that it may carry over in this one to make them take this a victory and turn it into a 2-0. Just the same, Killer Kappas may have just made enough adjustments in their draft to really clean up the gameplay for them and get a win here. It doesn't look like that so far, though, as Pokemon once again going to get poked out and kind of just Ben Dizzle over here showing them who's boss in this lane right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Ben Dizzle just kind of doing Ben Dizzle things. He's picking up game 2 exactly where he left off game 1.
Yeah, and no reason for him to do it any differently, for sure. He has nothing to lose in this lane after such a fantastic performance on his part. I think he finished that game like 3-2 and 12 or something like that. It was pretty absurd how good of a game he had on that Cthulhu. Maybe just Cthulhu being a very strong pick, could also just be Ben Dizzle preferring that god and performing very well on something he liked. We'll never know because we're not in the seat with Ben Dizzle as he finds himself a solo kill over in there. First blood goes to the man that we've been talking about. No caster's curse here. If anything, it's a caster's boon.
Mm-hmm. And I think, again, like we said, he's picking up where he left off, and he's just, Erlong Shen, especially out of solo, like, maybe not known as the most aggressive early on in game, but against an RDO, he took every advantage he had before she got all of her buttons online to whittle that health bar down, to then just a slight overstep, just a little bit out of position by Pokemon, and Ben's able to just get in there and get the damage done and get first blood.
Oh, Jing Qian falling very low. A dash in and a dash out will confirm his survival as Pokemon finds a quick trade. I think he heard us talking about him up there. Turned that one around on his own. Very good play from Pokemon to make that, to close that gap. And I'm starting to see one of the reasons why it didn't start very well for him. If you look over at his items there, he started off with magic defense. I think he was expecting to be laning against a physical god, likely that Erlong Shen. Or not likely that Erlong Shen, likely thinking it was going to be the other one, the Kuzumbo. I got a little confused there, folks. Just bear with me. I'm figuring it out slowly. So, not the matchup he was expecting. Put him behind a little bit in that situation. And he brought it back pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, and good to see him realize that and go to correct it early on. You just have to hope it doesn't bite him too much as we see action on this blue buff invade.
Action, and a dead Ben Dizzle once again falls for the second time. Also, confirming that blue for his team is PV and Filthy Scylla. But now, it's Camazotz that's in trouble. Fatty Bacon going down as well. Kuzumbo taking some damage from the ADC and the support, but we'll be able to turn that damage around, that health-based damage, ticking back onto him. Makes it a little bit more difficult to survive. And Queen Perfuma falls for the first time in this game. And it's a pretty good trade all around. I think Killer Kappas made a good play on right, kept their solo lane alive, and I mean, the graph speaks for itself. It's all over the place.
Yeah, the graphs are kind of crazy right now. But it just
XP
a little too aggressive there on Ben Dizzle, going for the invade by himself at first. And then little aggression out of PV here as he picks up the kill onto Kroger Man and trying to help set that duo lane ahead this game, and really just that accelerator we said Gunshow Shoguns pressed at about the 12-minute mark. Looks like Kappas want to press it right now.
Yeah, and I got to point this one out. I got to say it now. That is an apologetic PV right there. He said, guys, I'm filling in for you, and I feel bad I didn't play my best game there. Let me come back on this pick right here, and let me fix that for you. I'm going to get this going for you guys, no matter what it takes. That's a Walker Division player right there as well, coming in and filling in for the Canes Killer Kappas. So great job from him. Getting a play done across the map on a world tour, goes from solo to duo. If you're the Killer Kappas, you're thankful that he feels the way he does about that.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, he definitely started off game one pretty well. All the Kappas did, especially Filthy Scylla, who, again, helped making that big rotation to the blue buff there that we saw, a moment or two ago, as we see PV again.
Look at him go!
He doesn't want me to finish the sentence.
Look at that man go. I think it's time for the call-up, everybody. Don't tell him I said that. He might not be happy to hear it. Ratatasker looking very good for him at the moment as he makes his third kill happen within the first 5 minutes of the game. 5 kills in 5 minutes. Camazot's waiting here for this blue buff to spawn. RDO very low. Will not be able to come over here and help if something is to go either direction. Fatty Bacon waiting right behind, trying to get the steal. Walks forward and is able to confirm. Does have the jump up if he needs to use it, but Ratatasker also has that dash if he wants to go in. Chooses not to. Says, sorry, Pokemon. Just not able to get that one this time.
Yeah, and I mean, just Fatty Bacon just camping there for 20 seconds or so, just waiting for that blue buff.
Patience is key in that role, and I think Fatty Bacon displayed it.
Mm-hmm.
As it slows down a little bit, though, the action not so much anymore. It's slowing down quite a bit here at the 6-minute point. I gotta say that this game is anybody's game at any moment still. But boy, do I really feel like the Kappas have made a huge comeback in this set right now.
I mean, they've played this first 6 minutes, 40 seconds very well. I mean, XP and gold are pretty much even. So like you said, it's anybody's game for sure. But momentum is one of those things that can't be measured on a graph, and it does feel like it's swinging in the Kappa's favor at the current moment. So it's going to be interesting to see as Bendizzle fighting into a 2-level deficit right now.
2-level deficit and swinging like a wild man. He has that item in the first slot, Dead's Toll, to help him sustain up. Will not be able to find that kill there. As across the map goes the ADC, and the dash from Erlong Shin means it's a no-go. I was hoping that would be something. Also, we didn't mention it, but Dr. Shrew killed Queen Perfuma in the mid lane there.
Yeah, and Vulcan ult on cooldown, have to just assume that, he just threw out the Earth Shaker and shook some Earth, and Queen Perfuma was unfortunately in that Earth.
Yeah, the ground broke up a little bit, and I think we found out who was standing inside of it whenever that bomb slapped. And speaking of bombs, Ardio's health bar seems to be a bomb as well, with how quickly it goes from full to nothing.
Yeah, and yes, Bendizzle does have the level deficit, and interesting for him to go Berserker Shield first item instead of like a Shoguns or a defense item, or a magical defense into the RDO, but
just looking like a little bit of a toss-up here, a little bit of shake-up here in the mid lane. Queen not able to connect that ultimate. Not sure if she was able to get beads or anything there. Kernabog falling very low over here in the duo lane. Means that they'll have to back off. And so far, that's kind of been the name of the game. No real hard committals anymore. Solo laners fighting, duo lane fighting, but mid lane seems like it's just kind of a stretch to see who can get what farm first.
Yeah, Vulcan and Merlin are, kind of just known as farm gods. Like, they have the opportunity to be aggressive early and, try to push a lead, but they're both just like, no, I want to get like 2-3 items under my belt before I really start scrapping. So not too surprised to see a little bit of a slower pace in the mid lane than we've seen from these side lanes.
Also, something I've got to point out, the very big differences in builds between these mid laners. Vulcan opting for that cooldown starter. He's going to be going into that Chronos Pendant first item, most likely. He could go for something else, but I doubt it. Meanwhile, Filthy Scylla, he wants that book. That's a book start. He wants to go back to the Thoth build.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of options with the mid lane starts now, and items you can go and everything, and we see it here, like you pointed out. It's going to be Conduit Gem for both, which I'm glad. I like Conduit Gem. I'm glad Sans is not the automatic default go-to starter anymore. But then there's just so many options after that. Chronos Pendant or Book of Thoth. Do you want to spam your abilities and be active early, or do you want to scale up a little bit for late game? Both good options. It's just, which one do you prefer? And then what I really like is that I believe the T2 is called the Cursed Orb, going into the Doom Orb there, and the second item from Vulcan. With the changes to that item, I'm expecting to see it everywhere. I think that's going to be a very popular first item rush for mid lanes and magical jungles anytime we see them, which wouldn't be surprised to see them pop up now with this meta change too.
Ardio's still just taking the butt whooping of her life over there. Pokemon just not having a very successful lane, even with the help from the jungle. That 2-level deficit has been separated, or has been closed up, I should say. So Bendizzle, only a level down, maybe even half a level, depending on how well that's going for him.
Yeah, and he was able to survive the level deficit with, like you pointed out earlier, that Death's Toll in the first item, plus a health chalice. He's just able to sustain himself and survive for so long to nullify the advantage the RDO would have. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, full wave, he's fighting into this RDO, does not care, just sustaining the whole way through. And starting off with a physical defense item as well just makes it even more crazy, as you pointed out earlier. Blue buff being invaded once again by Camazotz here. Fatty Bacon going to steal that one away easily. No real mana to speak of, but Ratatasker's just not going to commit to that one. Doesn't feel safe doing so, at least not yet, as the rest of his team starts to follow in. Good stun, good root, waiting for that ultimate to come out and enough mana to use it, so he will, and uses that to help confirm the blue buff and his life. And a 4-man rotation for a blue buff invade does not pay off.
Yeah, although now we see the washing machine. This fight's just still going on.
Oh no, nobody's here to help him. Where did everybody go? Everybody just abandoned the Jing Qian here. PV is coming back. Gonna get that stun onto the Ratatasker. Ultimate did come off. Finally for Erlong Shen, means he's got a heal in the back pocket if he needs it. And he finally gets it going. Not a big heal because of the anti-heal applied. But he's fine. He lives this one. Beacon going the way of Gunshow Shoguns. And Deacon, it just seems to slowly walk away from the Kappas.
Yeah, you know, what was a very even game is now, like 1,500 gold and almost 1,000 XP in Gunshow Shogun's favor. Nothing crazy, not insurmountable lead by any stretch of the means, but like you said, it's just the momentum was in Kappa's favor, and it's just kind of slowly started to drift back towards Shoguns, and gonna be interesting to see what the Kappas do to try to regain hold of this match.
It's going to take a lot to get something going here for the Kappas. Looking for those team fights later on in the end game, more than likely. Definitely have a late game composition that they're looking to play with. Early game, not necessarily their strength, and so shouldn't actually be playing off of that. Double Guardians need some time to get online, but it shouldn't be such a struggle here for Pokemon either. Good stun means that he'll survive once again, but I don't think I've seen a moment where he hasn't been under 25% health during the laning phase at all.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Dizzle's just... Yes, the XP may technically be in Pokemon's favor, but Ben Dizzle has just been having the absolute... all the control. Just been walking this lane exactly the way he wants, and he's just ulted her under tower like twice now. Just presses his buttons whenever he wants.
Yeah, he has nothing to be afraid of here. Even being a level down, he still treats this RDO like any other matchup. And, I mean, we saw it on the Cthulhu, just walking at the Nike, walking her down, did not care. Then into the RDO, doing the same exact thing. Oh, excuse me. It's just the most unconcerned player in the game right now. I think Ben Dizzle just plays this out the same way he has for the entirety of this game. And late game comes around, if he keeps playing the way he has been, I think we see him being a huge proponent in these team fights.
I would agree, and I mean, just you look at how the lane's gone, you look at how he's played, you listen to how we've talked about him the last 30 or so seconds, and then you look at his stat line, and he's 1-3, and he just doesn't care that he's 1-3 because he's just doing this on repeat.
RDO falling very low, but so has been Dizzle, but he will take the auto attack trade and win it. Meanwhile, the Jungles fight their own battle on the other side of the lane, and Fatty Bacon finds himself another kill. The first kill, actually, in this game.
Yeah, and they, it's just Pokemon and PV saw Ben Dizzle at fairly low HP, and they're just like, let's just get this kill. Let's just get this kill and then fall back. And through his sustained with the death toll and the ult and everything, he's just doesn't die. And Fatty Bacon took no damage that fight. All he did was deal damage, and a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Got that Soul Eater online as well. Getting that stacked up, finishing that up will be a huge difference for him at the end of this game. So much healing off that item alongside the Jotun's Vigor as well. That extra power that item gives feels very nice.
Yep.
Gold Fury getting knocked down to 50% means that everything gets a little bit easier if they're able to get this confirmed, and they do. No problem here as Jing Qian tried to get that steal and instead becomes another sacrifice. Queen Perfuma falling for the third time in this game.
Yeah, but Perfuma just kind of living pain these last couple of engagements where goes in, ults, picks people up, gets relics. I mean, gets at least one, if not two sets of beads there, plus pick somebody up. And then you turn around as Jing Chen and you see, oh, there's nobody to follow up. Oh, I'm out here by myself. Oh no.
Not the way you want to play out a game. And again, ever so slowly, the Killer Kappas just kind of lose it over time. They had such a strong lead, had a really good start, and Gunshow Shoguns have just held on and have just kept their mentals in check and said, I mean, guys, we're gonna come out of this on top either way. We just feel like we're the better team, and they're playing like the better team.
Yeah. And at this point, Kappas, someone's got to rally the troops and get them on the same page and together, and they need to lean into one of the two identities that their draft has. They either need to group up as 5, say screw the lanes, it's 17 minutes, we're a team at this point, and try to make something happen either around an objective or in a team fight. Or I want to see them spread out this map and fight where Gunshow Shoguns aren't, because as we see where Gunshow Shoguns are, is not going well for them.
It's not. That ultimate from Vulcan did not connect onto anything, though. Kuzenbo down to 50%, uses the dash. Artio chasing him down as everyone else walks forward to the actual team fight. Artio does take down Kuzenbo, but Fatty Bacon will find Filthy Scylla. Artio coming back to the beacon fight at 50% health, looking at Vulcan. Ratatasker diving in. No Aegis here for him, but X-Ball's going to save the day for the mid laner, and Pokemon goes down to Fatty Bacon, who's been huge in this game as he finds a triple kill at the beacon fight. Now they're going to look at Kernabog. He wants to make it a quadra, and he finds the quad, but Kroger Man, being the greedy ADC, won't even give him the chance for a penta.
Wow. Shame on you, Kroger Man. Not a team player. We kid. I want to immediately say we're kidding. Fantastic team fight there from Shoguns, and Fatty Bacon just, does almost all of the damage as Kroger snuck that last hit in there, but just does so much. I mean, Kappas didn't know how to deal with him. He was just in there and healing any poke they did to him, and he's up in the sky where you can't hit him, and I just don't know what Kappas are going to do about this Camazotz right now.
What can you do about this Camazotz? He's been so good here. 11k experience, 9k, 9.5k gold difference. Gunshow Shoguns took that tough start and turned it into a massive lead. And it's really on the back of Fatty Bacon. Let's see those score lines again, because I guarantee you he's 5-1. Didn't have the strongest start in the game. Actually, we saw him struggling early. Lost that 1v1 to PV at the blue buff invade at minute 3. And then from that moment forward, has just been doing damage, confirming buffs. Hadn't done anything crazy until just now, where he gets a quadra kill and he's 5-1. But that's really what counts. He's 5-1. He didn't get those kills out of nowhere. He got those kills off the back of his team. A pentakill feels nice, but when you get those pentakills, you always got to give credit where it's due. And the real credit comes off of Gymkhana starting that fight off really well. Picking up this Vulcan, though, might be another mid laner down. No relics to speak of. It's a relic graveyard for for Dr. Shrew. Queen Perfuma gets the last hit there as Vulcan ult goes out. But still, though, Fatty Bacon, he's the guy I'm keeping my eye on for the rest of this.
Absolutely. He has proven himself to be quite the troublemaker for the Kappas throughout these 2 games. And Kappas, 1 game and 20 minutes here into game 2 have got to find an answer for Fatty, and haven't found one yet.
Haven't found one yet, and there's no tier 2 tower to save them from the mighty Camazotz here. Kernabog, though, is going to come in and try and do his own damage if he can. Lands on the back and gets Filthy Scylla among 3 members of the Killer Kappas. The only 2 members left alive, though, as well. This actually could be in-game if they can find both these kills. Fatty Bacon gets a triple kill before the game's even over, before the Phoenix even goes down. All 5 members here. Good shell keeps them alive, and Fatty Bacon gets him 2 quadra kills in this game. It's all fair game here for anybody, but 9-1 for the Gunshow Shoguns jungle. Killer Kappas are definitely feeling it here.
Yeah, Krogerman takes one, Ben Dizzle takes the other. Fatty Bacon's in here just like, I hate my side laners. Nobody wants him to get a penta, apparently.
Penta? Never heard of it. My team won't let me have one.
Yeah.
They got to keep him in check, dude. You got to keep him humble.
Intentionally sabotaging your jungle by stealing his kills.
Yeah, got to keep him humble, bro. Can't be letting him get out of hand. He might suddenly start trying to take on a 1v5 and give the lead over to somebody we don't need having it, like Filthy Scylla or something. No,
Yeah, well,
all realistically there, it's just a team playing as a team, and it happens to be him doing a lot of the work and heavy lifting for his team.
yeah, he's able to just get in there, get an easy, not easy, but a quick kill to start off that engagement, and then he just takes advantage of the fact that he's Kamazots. He heals up, he's up in his ult, and these backliners don't have a way to deal with him. Meanwhile, Ben Dizzle and the rest of the team whittles down any frontline who was trying to stop them, and then they group up, take this Phoenix, and now they're just grouping up and taking the left Phoenix.
I never in all my days would have thought I'd ever seen it, but an RDO was running scared from a Kamazots there, and that just kind of tells you the state of the game. Ben Dizzle walks into an entire enemy team's backline, has no cares, finally will fall here. Filthy Scylla getting another kill in this game. And it might not be what you were exactly looking for, but it might be a way to keep this game alive a little bit longer. Right side Phoenix does go down to Fatty Bacon, the one who's just been doing all the hard work in this game. PV will find Dr. Shrew on the other side of the map. But it's this right Phoenix that the real battle is taking place. And RDO takes so much damage just standing there.
Yeah, and Gunshow Shoguns just a little too spread out. They had people at each Phoenix, and yes, they had the advantage, and they did get 2 Phoenixes down in that push. So, like, by all means, that's a successful push. But you could have got that one Phoenix and maybe grouped up for a second one and then fallen back to this Fire Giant. Now you have to wait for people to respawn, and it gives Killer Kappas just more time to get any farm or items under their belt, or potentially ward vision and decide if they want to contest this Fire Giant. Whereas if Gunshow Shoguns wouldn't have been so spread out and allow PV to take advantage of his, semi-global ult, they might have been able to just collect it and not even give Kappas that option.
That would have been a 22-minute victory in that case, though. But Gunshow Shoguns don't take that 23-minute victory, instead giving the Kappas a little bit of something to work with here. Ratatasker in a little bit of danger, realizes it's not where he wants to be right now, uses that ultimate, starts to fall back to the RDO, but Ben Dizzle's here waiting. Good blink, though, avoids any more damage. Ult, blink down, 50 seconds on beads. It's going to be very difficult for PV to find a way into any of these future engagements. This Fire Giant is getting pulled at 24 minutes. Beacon also getting pulled, but by the Killer Kappas. They're dropping it, though, as the Fire Giant does get called out. Merlin walking forward right past Fatty Bacon. May have made a mistake, and Gunshow Shoguns confirm it as well as killing the mid laner, Queen Perfuma. Not long after that, Ben Dizzle does go down to the jungle and solo of the Killer Kappas. Jingqian trying to be a little bit of a distraction for as long as he can. Kamazots running him down, though, means it's only a matter of time before Fatty Bacon picks up his 11th kill in this game.
Yeah, just a matter of time, like you said. And great play there by the Shoguns, just able to pick up the Fire Giant, but Ben was a little too eager to zone. He zoned too well. He zoned them so far back, 1v4. He felt he was untouchable, and he was for about 28 seconds. But 29 and 30, he was very, very not untouchable, and Killer Kappas were able to take fire off of at least take fire off of one member of Shoguns.
And our lovely spectator here pointing out that the solo laner built crit. He has 2 defense items, by the way. Ben Dizzle is every bit of an assassin at this point.
Absolutely, just a bruiser initiator who's just looking to do damage, and I mean, that fits with what Erlong wants to do, I'll admit it. And yeah, it certainly fits with what Ben wants to do. I don't think the god matters. I think Ben just wants to get in there and do numbers.
Speaking of somebody who wants to do numbers, it's the Kamazots as he dives in, but he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Going to try and sustain back up off of fighting the Ratatasker, take some more damage as the Jingqian swings around in circles. Left side Phoenix does fall. Kuzumbo deep in the back line. X-Ball falling very low to the RDO. but no dash to speak of means it's going to be hard for her to get the distance here. Finally closes it, but still has a Vulcan to contend with. Aegis gets pulled out from the Vulcan to keep his life a little bit longer. Artio finally finds it. Both the backliners dead, but Gymkhana was there the whole time with his solo laner. Ratatasker got a good stun there, but doesn't really find anything else. Sniping Angel finally getting his first kill in the entire set with the help of the jungle of the Killer Kappas. Only 2 members left alive, though, for Gunshow means that this end call isn't possible, but they are going to keep these Phoenixes from coming up.
Yeah, they can wipe out all 3 Phoenixes, and again, that counts as a successful push in Siege in my book. But, again, a little too spread out, a little too overextended. They very well could have potentially ended the game here, as opposed to just getting the Phoenixes down. You know, I hate to say just taking all 3 Phoenixes, but they just, you know, allowed PV to get out of a fight and then ult back in and pick up some kills and do some damage, and Ben Dizzle's a little too far forward again. And I know he feels no fear, and I don't want him to feel fear. Just caution it, just a tad. Just a little bit of caution.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what we need to see from these guys, but we'll have to see if that's what they come up with. As 27 minutes into this game, it's been an exciting one, Ben. Gunshow Shoguns really showing their handle on the new patch and how they feel about the changes here, and picking up that Pyromancer to kind of accentuate their lead and grab themselves a bomb means that this game might not be much longer.
No, probably not. Kappa's just unfortunate pick there, and it's just making the job harder for Kappas. I don't know what they're gonna do, because Fatty Bacon is just doing things like that time and time again.
It's hard. It's very hard to win a game when the jungle for the Gunshow Shoguns is 13-1 with that kill on the Sniping Angel. That's a godlike for the jungle of the Gunshow Shoguns, and it's a 2-0 victory for them as well. What a fantastic showing from these guys in this battle for the bottom, especially on my personal choice for MVP, Fatty Bacon.
Oh, absolutely MVP there. Maybe a little bit of a question on who it was after game 1. Could have been Fatty or Ben, but Fatty just put the team on his back and carried them to a win whether they wanted to or not. And, you know, they wanted to. It's not like they were playing bad around him, but Fatty Bacon was absolutely the catalyst for that game 2 stomp.
And who better to put it on whenever someone does so exceptionally well in a game? That's a very strong performance from them, really showing themselves here. And if there's a team that's stuck in the bottom of the draft, or just stuck in the bottom of the leaderboard right now in this Canes division, that I think has a real shot at winning finals, or even winning just quarterfinals at the very least, it's definitely the Gunshow Shoguns. And if this game didn't prove it, I don't know what will.
Yeah, and I mean, just fantastic play there out of Shoguns, and like you said, that's the type of play that, like, it doesn't matter where you are in the standings. You see a team play like that, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with what they just did.
A production member here really wants us to mention this Deathbringer, and I gotta say, it is very interesting, but it's not the staple. And then again, everyone on this team did play exceptionally well. Ben held his own at a 2-level deficit in solo lane after getting ganked on repeat. Gymkhana, we didn't say his name much, but for good reason. Usually if you're talking about a support, it's because they're doing something wrong, not because they're doing something right. That's just the nature of the role. Krogerman played ADC. Usually that's the best thing you can do in that role as well. You play ADC, you get your pop-off games every once in a while, might find you a triple or a quadra kill, even a penta if you're really lucky, which is what he robbed from his jungle. But everyone on the Gunshow Shoguns did a really good job in this game, and that's why they take this one home in 2-0 fashion. But don't go anywhere, folks, because we've got another game coming around here on this channel at 8 o'clock. It's going to be a Walker's Division game. I'm not very good at remembering things, so just give me a second here.
It is Vibe Tribe versus
Yep.
Mystic Sea Serpents.
So y'all just stick around until 8 o'clock Eastern for that Vibe Tribe versus Mystic Sea Serpents game, everybody, because it's going to be another absolute banger just like this one. And with it being week 8 and so close to the end of the regular season, anything can happen and anyone can move up or down in the standings. So we really got to pay attention to these games coming into the later portions. But that's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to the guys coming up next in that game. I'm Freaky G, joined here by Deacon, the great and wonderful man that he is, and finally Mr. Nacho, doing a fantastic job on production as always. But with that being said, everybody, we'll see y'all in about an hour.
Bye.